So I'm here with Charlie McKee the day before the 2011 Moth Worlds, and Charlie, you seem to have turned up with something that's an airplane, is it?
It's a wing sail. There's 3 have been built by Object 2, and I'm going to be the test pilot, so I'm feeling privileged to be able to be the one to take it and race it in its first major championships.
So this sail, I believe, was originally developed by and for Bora, who brought it here and isn't actually using it in the World Championships. So how come that's happened, Charlie?
Bora and George Pete were the 2 who helped build it and originally started sailing it. And they got it a long way, but it came to a point a week before the regatta where there were some weaknesses to it that we didn't quite have figured out yet. And of course, you know, they're battling to try to win the championship.
Just in 1 minute, can you just tell us what control does what in the simplest possible way?
Yep, absolutely. You still have the main sheet, just like any other boat. Trims the wing in and out. I've taken off the outhaul, taken off the Cunningham, taken off the boom vang, and you have this line right here, which is the camber, basically, which puts power in, takes power out. So upwind you have less camber, downwind you have more camber, and that's sort of the one power depower control that you have. So in a lot of ways, it's elegant in its simplicity.
So this is this doesn't have a twist adjustment, this particular one?
It does not have a twist adjustment. It has a middle element, which also has its own control here, and is sort of variable the amount that the middle flap is open bottom to top. And the designers and builders who are a lot smarter than me have sorted that part out, and those are the types of things that moving forward, if I had 3 weeks instead of 3 days and 3 months instead of 3 weeks, that's where the extra speed would come from, that, you know, would be able to put me contending for the top 10.
We know that probably one boat will turn up tomorrow with a wing sail. Just from your point of view, do you think it's a good thing for the class, and do you intend to go down that route yourself?
I don't really think it's a good thing for the class, and I know that I will be seen to be commercially motivated with that sentiment, but I think there's a lot of people outside the class who are going, oh, you know, the Moth class is about development. Well, yes it is, but it's also, the Moth class historically has looked at new stuff coming along and gone, do we want this? When foils came along, it wasn't just, yes, foils are allowed, it's let's look at what the Moth is. The Moth is a single-hulled boat. So the first foilers had the foils on the end of the wings and effectively made a catamaran or trimaran, giving it a heap more stability than a single-hulled boat. So the rule was not changed but interpreted to say, well, these foils are part of the boat, so they can't be, you can't see air down the middle. So we ended up with the current configuration, which turns out to be a great configuration. It's like the difference between a tricycle and a bicycle. You learn to sail this unstable thing, and it actually works really well. You don't see people racing tricycles very often.
There's a couple of things you've got to factor in when you think about it. One is the heritage of the Moth. It's always been an open development class. Without that spirit, we wouldn't have the awesome foiling machines that we have now. We'd have Europe dinghies, which were a Moth originally. So I guess you've got to be mindful that you don't want to shut things down right where they are now, for sure. Just because we've got a big fleet doesn't mean that the development should stop. Having said that, personally, the thing that really attracts me to the Moth after sailing 18-foot skiffs for so long is they're light, they're easy to move around. I can go down after work to my sailing club, Wallara Sailing Club, rig it up by myself, put it in the water, 20 minutes later I'm sailing, get it out of the water myself, pack it up, 20 minutes later I'm home. My wife barely notices. Well, she does, but it's not too bad. Yeah.
How do you transport it, and how hard is it to get in and out? I mean, could you do this by yourself, or do you now need 2 people with a mast like this?
You know, it's quite light, and it's actually quite easy to pop in and rig. As far as actually dragging it in the water and back out, George has done it by himself. I don't want to risk it, so I have someone help me carry it in and out. But that part is really not that big a deal. It hasn't proven to be fragile, and it hasn't proven to be difficult.
There's 2 parts of this. Firstly, the practicality of this huge solid wing is I see a problem. Not only transport and manhandling and storing and rescuing, But the fact that the rule of the Moth class is one sail, and as much as you interpret the current configuration of the C-class type wing, it is two sails. They're saying it's a mast and a sail. Well, my feeling is wherever you've got one element feeding the leeward side of another element, it's two sails.
But I understand that, but the class has passed a rule to say that they are legal. So we're sort of we're beyond that, aren't we now?
No, we're not.
We're not. I thought. So we passed a rule to say you can use them at this event.
This event.
Do you feel that it is all about the extra potential, or is there a little nag in the back of your mind that maybe a wing sail for a Moth just isn't going to work better than a soft sail?
I'm not positive about either. I think if it's going to work on a boat, it would be great to have it work on a Moth. It seems like an ideal match. Some of the issues that I think we're facing are with Reynolds number. We're operating in a sub 200,000 regime, which is kind of it's where windmills work, it's where gliders work, and there's not a whole lot of knowledge out there about what's happening with airflow in that regime.
There's going to be a lot of people arguing, what if we banned foils? You know, where would the class be? Well, it wouldn't be anywhere. There's no doubt about it. It would be still a little bumbling class that it was. But the foils added a whole range of new stuff into it. A wing sail makes it maybe a little faster, although it hasn't proven. I think the wing sail came 42nd in that event.
Yes. So you're saying, what's the point? Why are we doing?
Yeah,
it's just like a falling piece of fashion, is it maybe?
If it does get its legs up,
then
is it going to add 1%, 2%?
Understand.
And if it adds 2%, suddenly you've got this monster that you have to have. You know, people saying it's cheap. Well, yeah, it's cheap if you build it yourself and you've got a few skilled people around to help. But it's not cheap once you build it in quantity.
Pandora's box has been opened for sure.
Yes, it has.
I think there was a lot of people who are there's a lot of people who are very positive about the effort we put through. I feel a little bit disappointed that we couldn't show better promise yet. It doesn't mean it's not going to show promise. The conditions that we've had so far hasn't been ideal for it.
Yeah.
But I think it's something very unique and it's something very cool, and that's very key to the Moth class.
It's definitely both of those things. Final question for you, Bora. It is cool and it's legal, but is it right for the class? I mean, it's right for people like yourselves. It's possibly right for some of the other professionals. But what about the guys who are struggling with their budget, who are building the boat in their own backyard? Is it right for them, do you think? Is it another challenge, or is it a step too far?
I think it's more right for them than anyone else, because they can build this very easily. It's anyone that's built a model airplane can basically build, or a remote control airplane or a model airplane. It's very easy to build. Actually, it's probably easier to build than a boat. Yeah. The availability of, I mean, where obviously there's some transport issue right now, but there's a lot of smart people, and we could probably solve those issues if we can solve the speed issue first. Yeah. Might not be a commercially viable project or product for a little bit, but who knows in the future. I think it is, though, a very good thing for the class. You can't restrict free thinkers of so to say, and the Moth class is definitely a home of a lot of free thinkers.
Completely. And so why you said at the beginning that you'd say people would argue that you have commercial reasons for voting against it, because clearly you make a lot of soft sails.
Yep.
But if you would be prepared to make a wing sail, then what's the commercial downside to you?
The commercial downside is I actually think that the class would reduce dramatically.
So you just have left customers full stop?
Yep.
Okay, well that's interesting. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I've been sailing Moths for a very long time, on and off.
Yeah.
And it's not just the commercial side of this that I'm interested in. I mean, I love the class.
Yeah.
And
you want what's best for class, I'm sure.
What's that?
I
absolutely do. Yeah. And yes, I am doing well out of this. And it's sort of been a very long road to get to this point. And have no shame in what's happened. But and I will definitely protect it, but it's not the reason I don't like
I understand. So we talked earlier to Charlie just going out doing one of the development sails just a day before the Worlds. Here's the boat, Charlie, but no wing. What happened?
I was having a great sail, and I was working on my jibing, and I had one bad jibe and sort of started to pitch pole, and rapid deceleration, and the front of the wing crumpled. It was, of the 3 wings, it was the one that we knew was kind of shaky, but it had been showing some promise of going fast, so
You want to give it a
we
go?
wanted to give it a go, and we wanted to see what the differences were, and we wanted to do it before and not during the regatta.
So effectively, the mast collapsed in a classic big slowdown, big
Yeah,
nosy
basically,
slowdown.
I was probably going 23, 24 knots.
Sure.
And so 24 to 0.
Yeah. But you got 2 more, so we'll see you out. You will be using it
Yeah,
on the mast
and
tomorrow.
both the other 2 I've used and
Awesome.
we feel good about it and are reliable. This was the one that was the least reliable,
Yeah.
but we wanted to give it a go.
All right, well, thanks for your time. We better get out the rain.
Yep.
But good luck
No
tomorrow.
worries. Thanks very
Cheers.
much. Cheers.